I thought that, well, I knew a little bit about the free trade organization and the free trade campaign here in Oregon, and I thought I would, at that time, what was going on was the Obama administration had decided that it would support George Bush not only in the war and the drones and everything else, but also in terms of free trade. And he was putting the final touches on the Korean Free Trade Agreement, which actually got expanded a little bit and became Korea, Colombia, and Panama, and they were all approved at the same time. And so I became a little bit educated about that, and I spoke a little bit to the audience. It was really a delight to see, to be able to speak to that many people about what was happening. And and since then, I've continued to serve on the board, and it's probably my favorite board, and formal board. The rest of them, as Ellen knows a little about what's been happening. There have been some sad situations. I think a lot of you here probably know what's been happening on some of the boards that I've served on, and anyway, onward and upward is all I can say. And I think that the next probably important thing that happened was this February or so, and of course, that's overlooking the fact that the Korean Free Trade Agreement did get approved, and it's implemented. As you may or may not know, normally once a free trade agreement is ratified by the various countries, and it's brought by the administrations, in our system it has to be approved. Originally it was just like all treaties by the Senate, but the House is also involved in putting its stamp of approval on the agreements. The Korean agreement and the Colombia and Panamanian agreements were approved. However, one of the things, it takes 10 years normally before, and each agreement change is a little bit different, but normally what the situation is that the countries have 10 years to implement the reduction or elimination of all tariffs between the countries. 90%, there's a minimum of 90% have to be eliminated within 10 years in a normal free trade agreement. And one of the things that is interesting about the Korean Free Trade Agreement is the fact that there's Korea obviously is a split country, north and south, and there's been an effort by industrialists in Korea to develop an economic zone called the Kaesong Industrial Zone, and which is right on the border, right on the other side of the militarized border, in which huge factories have been built. And the idea is once it's fully implemented, which will be about another 20 years before it can be built out, there will be approximately 500,000 North Koreans that will be working in this zone. And it just started to be built in 2004, and as you may know, the Kim Jong-un just closed it down and kicked everybody out in April, and but it's about to be reopened again. And the people that are working there most recently 50,000 approximately North Koreans and maybe about 1,500 South Koreans as managers. And what the agreement is that the wages that are due the workers are not paid directly to the workers, they're paid to the North Korean government. And they are not paid to the North Korean government in the won, which is the North Korean currency, or the South Korean currency, US dollars, and is paid. And the rate of pay, then the North Korean government then pays the workers. But they don't necessarily pay them in currency, they pay them in coupons. And coupons are redeemable at, of course, the Korean grocery stores or clothing stores or whatever. And but North Korea has one of the highest rates of inflation in the world, and it's what keeps people so poor. And when you look at the wages that people are actually being made, the estimated changes all the time, but it's about 17 cents an hour. And the goods that are created there are shipped by train back to South Korea, and then eventually, and the United States, it's in the process of negotiation, becoming duty-free into the United States. That's what the North Korean industrialists want, and that is, the United States has not objected to that provision. It hasn't fought it. It hasn't been fully implemented yet, and obviously it's shut down. But anyway, I think it's a particularly egregious example of what can and has happened with these free trade agreements. We basically have slave labor competing with our workers here.